All right, everybody, and welcome to the third Sunday here. Sunny Days Media Football Show, second season of us doing this. Boys, how are we feeling today?
Fantastic. Honestly, never better.
Yeah, it's been a good week so far.
Yeah, I was going to say, started the week off nice for the Jet fans. Got that win on Thursday night. Now, Pacino, you got to wait till tomorrow to see your Jaguars play. That sucks. Very weird slate we have here. I don't like two Monday night games this week. I don't understand that. They used to do that week one. And they're doing them at the same time, 7:30, 8:15. What's the purpose of that?
I feel like I don't know. I just feel like they, like you said, they do it every year. I think they're doing it multiple times this year as well.
But they usually do 7 o'clock and then 10 o'clock for the West Coast. Why are they doing both of them essentially East Coast games, and they're at 7:30 and 8:15? What the fuck is the purpose of that?
Disney likes to do things that doesn't make sense sometimes. This being one of them, I suppose.
Yeah, they do it. They just do it once a year off the rip, and it doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. Especially they do it to like the teams that don't have the markets or they don't think are going to be able to draw as big a crowd.
So then don't put them on Monday night.
Yep.
Don't do it. Like, if you're not good, you don't play on primetime. That's the way it goes.
Yeah, you can't do that though because everybody needs their share of the pie. As far as
it's a profit sharing league. They all do.
Go.
Everyone
but
does.
I feel like
all the teams have to share the money that comes into the middle of the pot. The money that you essentially keep on your own is what you make in your stadium. It's a profit sharing league. That's the reason the Bills and the Packers could still exist in Green Bay and Buffalo. You know?
Yeah.
I guess.
So
I don't know. I feel like with primetime games, it's more of like I feel like they every year they always make sure that every team has at least one. That's how you end up with the Jaguars and the Titans playing Thursday Night Football in color rush uniforms. You know, no offense, Vecino, but
yeah, I can't believe that what the Jaguars did, man.
It is what it is.
Worst uniform in the history of uniforms.
You don't like the new uniforms that the Jaguars are wearing?
No, the color rush.
No, the color rush.
Always
a couple
had
years ago.
Always
The
had
gold one, that was awesome. I kind of, you know what it looked like? It looked like Austin Powers Gold Member.
It was memorable.
If they were good, then it would have been different. But they would wear those jerseys and they would just get there. They would just get crushed.
So we went live Thursday night, right before the Jets game. Jets won. They beat the absolute shit out of the Patriots. Vecino, you were there at that game. That must have been an unreal atmosphere.
Yeah, that was sick. I mean, I will say the atmosphere September 11th last year was better.
Yeah,
louder. It was deafening. I think there was I wanted to see Rodgers run out with the American flag, but he didn't. He just ran out. But you know, man, this is what the Jets fans have been like waiting for forever. So you finally get a quarterback that can, you know, find out what the defense is up to before the snap, convert third downs, run the ball when they have to. Make up for negative plays early in the early downs, and
early on it looked like it was going to be a defensive showdown, but it
was awesome. It was just awesome. And you know what? The one thing that we were talking about when we didn't have Rodgers yet, and we were like, well, you know, who should we get? You know, Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers, yada yada, whoever it was going to be. Rodgers holds on to the football and allows the defense to breathe. And obviously with the 49ers, you didn't see it the first game because they didn't practice in preseason, I guess, didn't play in preseason, which I really didn't want them to do anyway, but they were just rusty and they didn't control the ball. This game versus an inferior opponent, they held on to the ball. The defense sat on the sidelines. They were catching their breath. They were getting on the field, and they were playing with their hair on fire. And that is how you win ball games. Don't turn the ball over. Mm-hmm. Run the ball, control the clock, and play good defense. It's just so simple sometimes, this game, and it's nice to see Rodgers be able to do that.
The difference in possession, unbelievable. Like you said, Vecino, that was literally the opposite end of what the 49ers did to us on Monday night, and it was just so refreshing to see that because that's what we have to do. There is one thing though I want to touch upon that you mentioned that he does, he being Aaron Rodgers. he's a bit of a perfectionist. And I don't know if you noticed this or not, but a lot of these play, and we saw it honestly on Monday. We saw it a little bit in week 2 against the Titans, and again on Thursday. A lot of the plays are coming down to the wire, and we didn't. I don't believe we had any flags. Maybe a couple of times. I know we used 2 timeouts in the third quarter on Thursday, but like he is so much of a perfectionist in like figuring out what's going on ahead of time that like I feel like it almost has the potential to hurt the offense more than it has to help them. Like sometimes you have to see that the blitz is coming and it's not going to work for the play you're going to call. And sometimes you just got to take it and figure it out, check down, or do whatever you can to not let that loss be as bad as you're anticipating it being. But like to come down to snap the ball, I would say probably 45% of the time with 1 second left on the play clock. That has me a little bit worried. Again, I want to talk about. I brought something up to the group like a couple days ago. I want to talk about it later in the show. But just like the amount of flags this year have really been not worrying me, but like making me be like, what the fuck's going on? So I want to avoid delay games as much as we possibly can. But with Aaron Rodgers, like you said, he knows everything is going to happen. So he's a bit of a perfectionist in that sense. And yes, Stevie Mack will kind of balled out again.
It is, and Stevie Mack actually did jump in the chat Thursday and say that.
He was here.
So
Can confirm.
He was a predictor. Yeah, I think there's been a lot of over officiating, but it's also been very sloppy football. And this is what happens when guys don't play in the preseason. And it's a risk that I think it's people talk about it like it's something really simple, and it's not. And I'll tell you why. So look at the Saints, right? The Saints, most of their starters, at least on offense, played in 2 preseason games. And look at the start that they're off to. And I don't think the Saints. I still don't think the Saints are very good. I don't think Derek Carr is a very good quarterback. But I think the reason that we're seeing this is that everyone's in sync. And they've been doing this for a while, and they did it in a game, right? Before the actual season started, they got their dress rehearsal. And then you see teams like the Jets, like Detroit, like the Chiefs, the Ravens, who are 0-2. You see teams like that who didn't really play their starters at all in the preseason, and they're struggling. And they're finding a hard time to dig their feet in and play. And it's a double-edged sword because you could talk about playing all your starters, and that's fine, right? They'll get in sync and they'll get in a rhythm. And that's a great idea until some 7th-round defensive end that's busting his ass to make the other team sacks their quarterback and shatters his collarbone. And now you don't have a quarterback to start the season, right?
Yep.
So we could talk about playing all of your starters in the preseason and how beneficial that is, and it is. But you're running a major risk. Yeah. We had a scare in Detroit early on in camp. Maybe not early on, maybe 3 weeks into camp. Penei Sewell went down, and we were all speculating, like, what the hell is it? And he had to be helped off the field. And in the end, it was nothing. But that is the result of going hard. That is the result of, it was Penei Sewell against Aiden Hutchinson, 2 All-Pros knocking heads for 60 minutes, 2 hours, whatever it is. And yeah, iron sharpens iron, but you run that risk. You run that risk. So how much are you going to do that? So I think I'm always on the side of let's do it in practice. If we're going to have that aggression, we're going to have that competitiveness. Let's do it in a controlled environment where the coaches can determine how many snaps each guy is getting, what situations we're doing, as opposed to throwing them out in a preseason game. And, because that will happen. And that has happened.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we talk about this. Let's not forget, why is Kurt Warner in the Hall of Fame? Kurt Warner is in the Hall of Fame because the starting quarterback of the St. Louis Rams at the time was playing in a preseason game. And he blew his knee out. Rodney Harrison tackled Trent Green. He went down, blew his knee out, and the Rams thought they had a lost season. Now, lucky for them, there was a Hall of Famer that was better than Trent Green waiting on the bench. But, that could completely derail a season, all for nothing. For absolutely nothing. So it's a double-edged sword. I don't think that there's a right way of going about it. I really don't. I think there's benefits, and I don't want to give too much time to this, but that's my 2 cents into the whole playing guys in the preseason. Because I know there's been a lot of talking heads talking about it. It's not just us. I saw Bill Belichick talking about it. I saw a couple of guys talking about it in reference to the Saints, and so I just wanted to bring that up here.
Well, here's how it works. You got a young team play them. Play them for 4 games. You got an old team? Don't.
Mhm.
And if you have an older team, you're probably looking to have a successful season. You don't just add a bunch of veterans in their
Right.
late 20s and early 30s and think you're going to suck. Then it's just a waste of money. You might as well just start the young guys.
The
So
2016 New York Giants.
yeah, so I think that you got the older guys, save them. They've been through the preseason. They should be able to come out and play well off the rip. What are you going to do? The Jets had a really, really shitty start to their season against the Niners, but were they going to win that game if they started their players in 3 preseason games? No, they lost because the scheme was
absolutely not.
inefficient. The scheme was completely tailored to what Kyle Shanahan wanted to do. Because obviously, Shanahan is a better coach than Robert Saleh. So, if they've known each other for years, the advantage was going to go to Shanahan. I should have known that. I thought it might be the other way around, but obviously, I was just an optimistic fan that hadn't watched football in 6 months. So that's just kind of how it goes. But
All of us.
now
You're
it's
not
week
alone.
4. What are we? Week 3? All right, now show up. You're 0-2, you're 1-1, you didn't play well. Show up. The Jets showed up. So let's see what other teams can show up this week.
I just splashed seltzer all over myself. By the way, I switched up last week. We had some beers on the show. Lions lost. Switched up to a couple of Happy Dads. Drinking out of a Mets cup. Big game tonight. Sunday Night Baseball against the Phillies. Got to win tonight. But that's
a must win.
We got a couple of headlines before we go into the slate because there's a pretty good slate.
I agree. I'm looking at it now.
It's a weird slate. It's a weird slate, but it's a good
there
slate.
are a couple. There are a couple of really good games that I'm seeing here that they're dog shit teams, but they should be good. Like they're evenly matched.
So first one, quick. I'm gonna say both of the headline attention, and we'll go forward. Can the Titans get their first win? They're playing Green Bay. They're in Tennessee. Titans have been terrible. Their offense is terrible, but it's a good defense. I think we've seen plenty of the Titans in the past couple of weeks playing the Jets. Week 1, I watched them playing the Bears. It's a very good, hungry defense. Their offense is dog shit, and it's really centered around Will Levis. So that's A. B, the second major headline that caught my attention that I think we could devote a couple minutes to here. Multiple teams interested in trading for Bryce Young. And Bryce Young's answer to this, when questioned by the media, this is all according to the Score app. Young is open to anything, in quotes, in regards to staying in Carolina or being traded. I'll start this out. I never really thought Bryce Young was going to be great. I think his height hurts him, without a doubt. I'm not a quarterback guru, but that's one thing I could tell you off the rip. That height is a problem. Have there were shorter, on track to make the Hall of Fame? Absolutely. We've seen it. We've seen plenty of successful quarterbacks under 6 foot, but it's hard. It is just it's that much harder. It's genuinely that much harder, and it takes a special kind of guy to really excel when you're that short, playing behind 6'5", 6'7" offensive linemen. I didn't really have a lot of faith in him coming out of college, but at the same rate, this kid's 2 years into his NFL career. He's got no one to throw to. You got rid of his weapons in terms of trading up to get him. He's got no line to really block for him, and he's got no defense. So he's not really on the field much. How are you determining? And once again, I don't think he's very good, but you must have felt a certain way to draft him first overall. How are you almost ready to and the Panthers are like kind of denying this, but it shouldn't even be a headline, right? Like if there was any faith in Bryce Young in Carolina, this wouldn't be a headline. And I understand that the game is fast-paced now. I understand that we move on from quarterbacks quicker, i.e. Sam Darnold and Zach Wilson. I get that. But this kid's he's not even 2 years into his career. He's a season and 2 games into his career. Benching him is one thing. Debating to move on from him, like, what kind of decisions are you making as a front office if that's
the fact of the matter
conclusion?
is here the Carolina Panthers they taken the helm from the Cleveland Browns. Actually, honestly, it's still up in the air given what's going on right now. But for the time being, the Carolina Panthers has taken the mantle of most incompetent franchise in the NFL from the Cleveland Browns. And I feel as if they have an owner that just wants to have his hand in the cookie jar at all times while not quite understanding how this all works. You know what I'm saying? Like, this guy's an outsider coming into the football game. He's coming from a business background, and, hostile
Wall Street
takeovers,
guy.
all that good. Yeah. And he thinks it's kind of like the Dan Snyder effect here, where it's a guy that thinks he knows everything about football because him and his buddies used to go on a yacht and watch it on Sundays. Like, I like this guy. I like this guy. I want this guy, whatever. And he doesn't understand the ins and outs of everything that's going around. Like, we had this conversation, I think it was last season at some point, where it's like the scouts and all that stuff, they know what they're talking about. It's literally their job to do what they have to do, and they're going to steer you in the right direction at all times because it's in their best interest to do so. But then when you have an owner making decisions on the back end, it's going to really inhibit the performance of the team. That being said, the Panthers don't have a bad roster. I think they just have I guess it's just bad leadership. They have a nobody coach.
They have a bad roster.
You think
very
so?
poorly put together team. You had a tremendous pass rusher in Brian Burns. I mean, this is the NFL where you literally have to spend 91% of your cap every 4 years. So it's not like you could sell me on saving money or anything. In what world? Why did he have to be traded? Why? Why did one of the best pass rushers in the NFL? Why did you have to trade him? How in the world does that help your organization? How does that help you win? How does that help your young quarterback? I mean, I don't. To me, this is crazy. This is crazy.
Yeah. The problem with the Panthers is that I think they fell into the trap of believing that the scheme of getting the ball out quick would help a young quarterback. But the problem is that what helps, obviously, a young quarterback, especially in Bryce Young's situation when he's just kind of an inferior athlete, he needed to sit and they needed to develop a real run game. So what did they do? They went out and they got a guy with tread on his tires in Miles Sanders. And they tried to run an offense with Miles Sanders and Chuba Hubbard as their running backs, when in the reality of the situation is they should have got guys like Deonta Foreman and Derrick Henry, guys that are bruisers and can run up the middle. And, obviously Derrick Henry was going to go to the Panthers, but guys like him that can set the tone and make linebackers kind of cheat up a little bit to set, to defend against a power running game. And it gave him Frank Reich, a quick passing game, West Coast style offense. It's fine for a guy like Bryce Young, but, Rodgers said it best. These guys are coming in and they don't really know football. They know it, but they don't know what they should know. They're coming from college schemes. A lot of people, they're running cover 7, cover 4. Everything's, bend, don't break, keep everything in front of you. The NFL is like, we're going to press these guys because your receivers suck. And they didn't have receivers. They missed on Jonathan Mingo. Adam Thielen's a million years old. They just added Xavier Legette, who I do have hope for. But, with Bryce Young, the way that they kind of constructed that team, they're going down early in games. They have to throw a bunch. Bryce Young is incapable of doing that because he doesn't have the receivers. He doesn't have the line. And you're seeing a horrible scheme and adding another head coach, getting rid of the GM, completely shaking things up because you're upset that you didn't get CJ Stroud. Well, you could have just picked CJ Stroud. The Texans aren't geniuses. Mm-hmm. The Texans got their consolation prize. They weren't hoping for CJ Stroud. They were hoping for Bryce Young. Everybody wanted Bryce Young. So the aspect of Bryce Young not panning out is obviously the Panthers' fault. The issue now is I would rather, if I was the Panthers, just die on that sword. I'm not going to take, and I know they have a new GM. The guy that drafted Bryce Young is no longer there, which does not help Bryce Young's case. But what would you want if you're the GM of that team? You want a second-round pick? You want maybe a first-round pick? You don't want a fifth. So nobody's going to trade for him. Nobody's going to do that. I mean,
they'll trade for him, but they're not giving up a day 1 or 2 pick.
No, and I don't think the Panthers would accept that. Right. I think the Panthers would rather just die on that sword and go back to the drawing board. I would expect him to maybe get traded maybe during the draft next year or right before the draft to a team that, maybe not drafting high enough to pick a quarterback, but they want to take a shot. But there's just no teams right now. Teams are set in stone. The Dolphins, they have Tua still. I mean, if that doesn't work out, they're probably just going to draft a quarterback. He needs to sit for a year. Wherever he goes, there needs to be a guy in front of him that's going to play and help him, learn a little bit. And when he does go and play and get in finally, the offensive line needs to be able to give him, some sort of opportunity for success. So it just is what it is with the guy. If I'm Bryce Young, I'm demanding a trade. I wouldn't put a uniform on for that team again. I think that there's still value left, and there's still an avenue for him to have success in this league. But the Panthers not only ruined it, I think that they don't deserve another opportunity to fix him. This is done.
They're a disaster. It's depressing watching them because
it's horrible.
We our high school years were watching Cam Newton there and watch him revitalize a Panthers fan base. That's primarily a college basketball and football kind of region. And you bring that SEC star to Carolina and you watch them go to a Super Bowl and you watch them have success and get in all those primetime games and just be a very exciting team. But, even with their old owner, I think his name was Richardson. I forgot his name. Getting rid of Steve Smith when you brought in Cam Newton, like a lot of what they do just never made sense. And I think they've had a lot of the wrong guys in charge there. And it's a shame. It's a shame because I think Americans love football. Like you could put a fucking NFL team in the middle of South Dakota and you'll probably, if they're halfway decent, you'll sell out every week. Right? So like, I don't buy that it's not a NFL region and that it's hard to sell. No, it's hard to sell tickets because you fucking suck. Because you put an awful program together every year, and and people are not going to sit in 2 hours of traffic to watch that shit. They're not. I mean, you have a rookie quarterback, or young quarterback. Fans aren't expecting to win every week, but put up a fight. Mm-hmm. Show us something, and that's a shame. But let's move on to the games here. I mentioned the Titans playing Green Bay first. Titans are favorited here at -3. I honestly think this game could have been a pick 'em, I guess because they're home. Green Bay's at 130 on the money line, and the over-under of that game is 37.5. I wouldn't want to touch an over-under there. I guess if I had to pick, maybe an under, but 37.5 is low, is very low. So I think Tennessee
I like the
gets
Packers
first win.
here. I don't know about that. I like the Packers here. I think you got to keep in mind this is a Malik Willis revenge game, for lack of a better term. So, you look at revenge games, guys are always going to ball out during revenge games. We see in the NHL all the time. It's almost a lock that they'll score a goal. I think it's almost a lock here that, I don't know. But Titans are in trouble, dude. The Titans are in big, big trouble. There's not a lot of trust there, and you could see it from the coach. I don't know his name. I know he's a first-year coach. But him and Will Levis going back and forth, where he's just we talked about it before, where he's just selling out his young quarterback to the media. That's not good, man. So I don't know what's going on in Tennessee right now. I think they're in shambles. I think they're really missing Derrick Henry, who was the offense, for lack of a better term. I know they have help me out here, gambling addict from Jacksonville.
Oh, Ridley?
Yeah, I know they have Calvin Ridley on the wide out there, who is a big help. But the fact of the matter is, he's only going to do what he can if you got to get him the ball. And Will Levis is really struggling getting them the ball. We saw them drive down the field against the Jets last week, and on the 15-yard line, 10-yard line, whatever it was, just an atrocious fumble because he doesn't know when to take a sack, when to go down, what to do. He's always trying to make something happen, which is, admirable, but you got to be smarter than that. I understand he's young, but still.
If you're Tennessee, man, it's almost like you wish you could have like a head coach in a program that could bring you to like the playoffs every year and an AFC championship. And it's, oh wait, you did have that. You just fired that guy though.
Yeah, I can't believe that's another thing. How can you let that guy go? How
you put a gun to his head
Mike
and
Vrabel
you made him play with Ryan Tannehill for like 4 seasons, and then you just couldn't believe.
Which guess what? He made the playoffs twice with Ryan Tannehill. Twice.
4 times. No.
4 times. Yeah.
Oh,
they made it every year. It was ridiculous.
Like 3 or 4 times. Yeah. And they made
regardless.
it to an AFC
he made chicken salad out of chicken shit with Ryan Tannehill under center, and that's something to look forward to. Not to mention, while Vrabel was there, they had a scary defense, man.
They still have a good defense. No, they still have a very good defense.
I don't know if it's Mike Vrabel's defense, though. You know, like it's kind of.
Yeah.
I feel like Rabel. He's the type of coach that's going to give you a little extra oomph. You know,
Yeah.
kind of like having Todd Bowles at the helm, where you just know they're going to blitz every play, and 60% of the time it's going to work every time, and then it just people play different. And I feel like Rabel, especially, you listen to podcasts like Busting with the Boys and stuff, all they do is glaze him off, and he seems like he's like a real, like kind of like almost a Dan Campbell type where people get up for him. And the fact that they ran him out of town is just it's unfathomable.
Ryan Tannehill played 5 playoff games under
That's insane.
under Vrabel.
That's
Yeah,
fucking insane.
it's disgusting what they did. I do think that there was a little bit of a power struggle there. The issue is that the GM with Vrabel was a disaster, and he traded away AJ Brown. And once he did that, you could kind of see the writing on the wall for the Titans in general. I don't think Vrabel wanted to be there. The fact that Vrabel's not a head coach is fascinating to me. I think a lot of teams.
I think that's more on Vrabel than that is on other teams. I think he's probably waiting for a scenario, maybe like the Jets to open up. If
Maybe
Salah doesn't get it done. Maybe like the Bears. Right,
Show me
the Bears.
a good time.
I could see Vrabel going there. That's already a very good defense.
Is he a coordinator anywhere right now?
I don't think he's working.
No,
he's
he's
with
not
the
working.
team. No, he's with
He
the
is?
team.
He is with a
He's
team.
probably working as an
He's with the
analyst.
Browns.
If I had to guess, I don't think he's got a headset on because if he does, he's not getting paid anymore from Tennessee.
He's a consultant with the Browns.
There you go.
He currently serves as coaching personnel for the Cleveland Browns. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know what
Now-
he's doing, but
Yeah.
that's working out
that
for you,
means
Rabes.
he's- that means
That's
he's
really
helping
fucking
out.
working out for you, buddy.
That means he's helping out in practice,
Yeah.
and he just can't wear a headset on the sideline.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. You don't walk away from a team that has a promising young quarterback. So that should tell you enough about Will Levis. He's
Right.
not a promising young quarterback. He is a boneheaded, overdrafted bridge quarterback that the Titans will probably use to maybe get a little value for and draft another quarterback next year.
We saw this at Kentucky. Like it's almost. I mean, Anthony Richardson might be an anomaly here in Indy. I mean, the jury's out on him.
Jury's
But, like,
definitely out.
But on a lot of the Will Levis is a product of just overdrafting quarterbacks, right? It's just like we need it. We need a quarterback. This is the best guy available. That's like you really need a car today, and you just go to a used car lot and you're like, well, this looks like the least piece of shit I could find, so I'm gonna buy it, which is absurd. I'll take the train until I find the right car, right? Like, I mean, it's the same thing with quarterbacks. Why are we investing so high in some of these guys that you know when they're getting drafted that they're not up to that caliber? Like wouldn't you rather just take another offensive lineman? Like if that's what you're gonna do, just take a guard. Like at least he's gonna play. He's gonna help you win.
Yep.
I mean, it makes no sense to me that we overdraft quarterbacks. We overhype these guys. Take a running back.
Well-
Do something that's going to help you because this isn't going to help you.
And you always go back, and you could always go back. I mean, it's online. You go see who got drafted after Will Levis, because if Will Levis doesn't pan out, Sam Laporta was the next fucking pick. Michael Mayer, Steve Avila.
Sam Laporta was drafted that high.
Yeah.
I didn't
He was
realize
a second
that.
round pick.
It's just funny how it always
Um,
works out. Like you could have drafted this guy, you could have drafted that guy. Anytime you draft a quarterback, it doesn't matter. But when the quarterback fails, you look so dumb. You
You do.
always do.
You do. Oh, 100%.
Especially when they passed on him. I mean, they didn't draft him. They went and they drafted Peter Skoronski. They said, we'll take the tackle instead. And then no team drafted him. I wonder why nobody drafted Will Levis in the first round. Because if you don't draft a quarterback in the first round, that means you don't have confidence in him. You trade up to 32 to take that quarterback because you need that second-year option or that fifth-year option. Obviously, Will Levis wasn't worth a fifth-year option, and they knew it, yet they still drafted him and drafted him ahead of a lot of really, really quality players here. So they'll probably be back to the drawing board next year. Who are they playing again? What's their
They are playing Green Bay. They're in Tennessee.
Yeah, as a Titans fan, if they lose this game, you're gonna start seeing fans rooting for losses. Get back to the top of the draft next year and start over again. It's a shame. They don't have a bad team. They don't have a bad team. They just have a bad quarterback.
They're not going to lose enough games to be drafting that high. They're too good of a defense, I think. I think that they'll
Potentially.
squeak out 5 wins, 6 wins. You have to think it's a 17-game schedule.
There's enough quarterbacks in this, draft. Carson Peck, Dart, Shador, who, I mean, what a game last night.
I want to see
Quinn
Jackson
Ewers.
Dart do big things.
And then you have Cam Ward, who's going to go number 1 overall, most likely. So a lot of quality quarterbacks, maybe not some high end, like generational talent. But, in this day and age, you pair a really good quarterback with a great offensive coordinator, and it can work out with a decent line, like we just talked about with where the opposite's happening with Bryce Young. So what's the next?
We got a bunch of- we have a lot
1
of-
second though, you just threw around a word that Will Hickey just said. The word generational talent gets thrown around a lot. I come from the background where I feel as if you want to, I know they're harder to, it's easier said than done, but I think you're better off with a diamond in the rough compared to one of these blue chip prospects. Shedeur Sanders is going to go in the top 10. He's going to play in the NFL for what, 5 years, maybe? I can't see him having any level of success. Same thing you've seen it recently. And again, we talk about it with the overvaluation of quarterbacks in the draft. You want to find a guy like Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant. He's been to, 1 Super Bowl and 1 NFC championship so far in his 3-year career. Shit like that. Tom Brady, another miss.
For every Tom Brady and Brock Purdy, there are 30 other Zach Robinsons that you've never heard of, right? So
no, I get that.
It's easier said than done.
Maybe not a Mr. Irrelevant type guy, but like when I know you can't go off this, but when Will Levis was drafted at like where he was, I felt like that was like an adequate place to pick a quarterback that might show promise. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, the higher end guys I always feel like just don't really pan out. Once in a blue moon they do, but I feel like first round quarterbacks never really work out.
Yeah, look, the generational quarterbacks are going number 1 overall. And I think that if you think of a generation, Andrew Luck deserved to be a generational talent quarterback.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence deserved to be a generational labeled quarterback. And Caleb Williams deserved to be generational labeled. Now, how long is a generation? Generation X is 15 years. So if you have 5 guys that are labeled the generational quarterbacks of that 15-year span, I don't think it's egregious to call enough of those guys. Now, what do they do in the league? Are they generational quarterbacks in the NFL? Maybe not. Maybe they're not. But the generational label is where it's like you're kind of bust proof. I don't know if Bryce Young
Caleb Williams is a product of our generation, not our generation as in me, us three, but the generation of football we're watching right now. Because I think, for example, 2009, the first overall pick was Matthew Stafford. If Matthew Stafford came out in this year's draft, he'd probably still be the first overall pick based on what Matthew did at Georgia. Guys like Vince Young, right? Vince Young was, I don't know, he was a first-round pick. I don't know.
He wasn't generational. He was a 3rd pick, but he was good. He was good.
So Vince Young was one of those guys, right? Didn't really pan out in the NFL, but was one of those guys. I think all of those guys would still be picked as high. I think a guy like Caleb 20 years ago, absolutely not. Would have been a back of the first-round pick. Not because of for a lot of reasons. A lot of reasons. We are in a much more accepting environment. A quarterback 30 years ago could not paint his nails, drafted first overall. And you're going to say that that's not a deal.
You are probably right about that.
Quarterback 30 years ago could not cry in his mother's arms at the end of a meaningless Pac-12 game that he lost and get drafted first overall. It just wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen.
Caleb Williams is probably the greatest college prospect. I would say he's the best college prospect.
Cam Newton, Tim Tebow, Lamar Jackson. No way. No way.
It's
no
different.
way.
Caleb Williams went to Oklahoma, and Spencer Rattler was no longer the quarterback. Caleb Williams,
what's Spencer
anywhere he goes, he for his college career, forget about what he's done in the NFL over the last 2 weeks. He went to Oklahoma. He said, I'm going to be the quarterback here. Too bad, Spencer Rattler. You want to go drafted number 1 overall? No. You're going to have to go transfer to Carolina and rebuild.
That's not true. None of that's true. He went to Oklahoma and said, I'm going to be the starter. And Lincoln Riley said, no. You're going to watch Baker Mayfield play, and then you'll compete to be the starter. And he still wasn't the starter. Spencer Rattler was. Okay? And then Spencer Rattler shit the bed, and so Caleb was elevated. And then Lincoln Riley took whatever it was, $20 million more to go to fucking L.A., right, and coach at USC, and he took Caleb with him. And you know what? When the chips were down and the rest of that team didn't look very good, Caleb didn't look very good. And that's my problem with Caleb Williams, okay? He lit up you lit up Utah State. You lit up Wazoo. Congratulations. What'd you do against Oregon? What'd you do against Washington, who was in a
What'd you
national
do against
championship?
UCLA?
Who was in a national championship last year, right? The team that you were supposed to be better than. The team that you were supposed to win that conference, not them. What'd you do? You shit the bed. It's not all on him. I think a lot of that's on Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley can't run a defense to save his fucking life. I think he's a severely overrated coach. And I think if you're a Jet fan, you are thrilled that they did not go and hire him a couple of years ago, right? And I mean, maybe you don't love Saleh, but I think you'd be in much worse shape with Lincoln Riley. But Caleb has kind of been elevated by coaches around him. And it's not to say that he didn't do anything himself, and he was a fine college quarterback. The guy won a Heisman, for Christ's sake. I mean, he was really fucking good. But to put him in the same breath as guys like Cam Newton, as guys like Lamar Jackson, guys like Tim Tebow, no way. No. It doesn't mean that I think Caleb's going to have a much better NFL career than Tim Tebow did. But in terms of the college game, no way. No way.
Look, all I'm saying is, first of all, he went to Oklahoma as a freshman, and he said he was going to be the quarterback, and he went and he stole that job from Spencer Rattler. And
Spencer Rattler threw like 4 picks and got taken out of
Spencer Rattler stinks.
That's why Spencer Rattler went to go play in Columbia, South Carolina, and still can't win games there. Smoking cigars after the 6th win of the season, the 4th win of the season. I mean, it's not saying much, in my opinion. I mean, Caleb Williams had a tremendous Heisman season that first year at USC. God bless him. He is a Heisman winner, and not many people could say that. But to put him in the same breath as some of those other guys that were drafted first overall, no way. No way. Definitely not.
Well, Trevor Lawrence won a college championship as a freshman, true freshman.
Oh, okay.
And he lost, I think, 1 game or something in his career. Trevor Lawrence was a generational talent.
Yeah.
He also went to the worst team, and he got Urban Meyer, and people love to hate on the generational quarterbacks. And he just got paid millions of dollars, so he has many years to prove that he was that prospect. Andrew Luck proved he was that prospect, and Peyton Manning proved it. But how many do you want? You want one generational quarterback for that one generation? Is that where the limit is? So I think, how many can there be? There's 32 in the league. If there's 5 in a generation, you have 5 generational quarterbacks for that generation, then yeah, they can all be considered that. And I think it's not fair to, say he's no longer a generational prospect because it didn't work out in the NFL. Right. No, he was a generational prospect. That's why he went number 1 overall. That's why Andrew Luck and Trevor Lawrence and Caleb Williams, they went number 1 overall. There was never a debate. You could paint your nails and you're going number 1 because he was amazing. Cam Newton had to transfer. He was at JUCO. He went back to he went from Florida to Auburn. He wasn't the quarterback at Florida. Had that amazing season at Auburn. He went number 1. Not necessarily a generational prospect. RG3, not a generational prospect. It didn't really click for him until that junior year, where these other guys, they were dominating at 18, 19 years old. So I don't know. I mean, it's tough. Now, Lamar Jackson, generational quarterback. That didn't go number 1 because of stupid idiots that thought Sam Darnold was an actual quarterback, when all you had to do is go to the game or watch the game. I love USC. I'm a big USC fan. Watching Sam Darnold and watching Caleb Williams play quarterback was a complete different product. Completely different. USC was letting up 50 points a game. Sam Darnold's team was losing because he was just completely crumbling under pressure, and the line didn't help. But Caleb Williams' line didn't help him, and he was fine. So I think there's ways to kind of see through the generational prospects when you're getting to that 7th and 8th guy on that list. But the top 5 guys, like, whatever happens in the NFL happens. What I saw in college and what the scouts saw is what's making them generational.
We got a lot.
Will Lamar Jackson was a generational prospect, and the scouts were idiots. Anybody that told him they wanted to play wide receiver was an idiot and deserves to have their license
But
or
I don't
their
think that
scouting
was. I don't.
badge removed.
Yeah.
Should have went number
No,
one overall.
I don't think that was representative of every scout, though. And
You're right.
correct
GMs.
me. Correct me if I'm wrong. I remember this story came out, and then I thought Lamar had come out days after and said no one talked to me about playing wide receiver. Now I don't know if that was true or not, but in my head that's how I remembered it. That immediately first day of the combine, that story comes out, and Lamar debunked it 2 days later. I don't know. But you're a fool if you think that guy's playing wide receiver. A lot of good games in the 4 o'clock window. You have some good games in the 1 o'clock. So let me go through the 4 o'clock here. Carolina at Vegas. I like this strictly from a gambling perspective. They're giving they're taking away 6 from Vegas. I'll take that any day. I think Carolina sucks. We talked about this. I mean, Andy Dalton starting, maybe that steadies the ship. I don't know, but I think Carolina's bad enough. That's a fun game to bet on. I didn't. Ravens at Dallas is going to be very interesting. The Ravens are coming in 0-2. We know the Ravens are not an 0-2 team, right? We know how good the Baltimore Ravens are. Dallas is coming off that embarrassing loss at home. This game is also at home. It's essentially a pick 'em. Ravens are -1. Dallas is minus 105 on the money line. The over-under is 47.5. I took this game, but I'll go through my bets later. I think I did an alternate spread. I lowered that over a little bit. You've got one game that really intrigues me, and then I guess I'll stop after this, and we'll kind of talk about those first 3. Chargers at Steelers. This is interesting. I think the Steelers are going to get handed their first loss. Steelers are home. They are -2. The Chargers are 110 on the money line. I like the Chargers. I like what Jim Harbaugh is doing. I think eventually, I don't think they're the most talented team in the world. They've got a great quarterback. They've got a great left tackle, clearly. They've got some weapons. And what I like about the over-under of that game, by the way, is 34.5. I wouldn't touch that. The Chargers seem to be one of these teams that can win a game scoring 10 points and can win a game scoring 30. So I don't really know enough there to take the over-under, but I feel confident enough. I took the Chargers. I actually felt so confident in the Chargers beating the Steelers. I took an alternate spread there, and instead of the money line at 110, I took them at -1.5. Oh, they were given 2 points today. I essentially took 2 points away. That's how confident I am in the Chargers. I like what Jim Harbaugh is doing. I like that he's slowing games down. I think it's the oldest cliche, Facino, we talk about in football. But how do you beat a great quarterback? You keep him off the field. And that's what Jim Harbaugh does. He runs the ball. He pounds the rock. He took a defensive lineman that probably wasn't going to make his team, and he said, hey, let's change your number. You're playing fullback. And, make fun of them all you want for throwing a fullback out there. But when all of these defenses are designed for speed and length and covering wide receivers and tight ends and this and that, now you take a big, bruising, 300-something pound, 6'4", 6'5" defensive end, and you give him a number in the 40s and make him plow forward for your running back. I think that's the best thing you could do. In today's NFL, I firmly believe that. Ground and pound in today's NFL, it works. It works because defenses are not set up. They're not designed to beat that. That's why we saw Tennessee for years with Derrick Henry have so much success.
The new NFL is keep 2 safeties as far away from the quarterback as possible. Show 1, but you're always going to have 2 back there. And, you're going to man-match your corners. And, at the end of the day, Jim Harbaugh says, all right, you're going to put a nickel out there? You're giving up 150 pounds. You're giving up 50 pounds right now because no team really runs a genuine 3-4 anymore. So you're giving up the nose tackle. So you used to have a 360-pound nose tackle. Now you got a 295-pound 3-tech. So you gave up 60 pounds there. Now you're giving up 100 pounds going from a linebacker to a small little nickel corner that could barely make tackles. So you lost how much? And if you add weight on your side, and you put a fullback out there that weighs 300-something pounds, you now are saying, not only are you giving up the weight, you're begging me to run the football. You're seeing less 8-9 men boxes than you've ever seen before. And Jim Harbaugh's like, I'm going to run the ball. Now, I don't know if it'll last the whole year. I think teams will figure them out. I think they'll struggle. But they have Justin Herbert. So if you figure that out, all right,
if they have to air it out, they can.
No problem.
And that's what he did at Michigan, right? That's what he did at Michigan. When you wanted to grind and kill Blake Corum, no problem. I got J.J. McCarthy, who's mobile, who could hit targets down the field, and that's how I'll kill you. And you know what? If you look at a lot of those Michigan games last year, J.J. McCarthy was only airing out the ball some of these games like 10, 15 times, but they would win because he aired it out when he needed to. They were at some of these games, they were at like a 80 to 20 run to pass ratio.
Yep.
And they were winning in an era where college football is centered around the Mike Leach air raid offense. A pro-style offense. Oh, we lost Anthony. A pro-style offense won a national championship last year. We lost Facino for a minute here. Jerry, do you those first 3 games I mentioned, anything you like there?
Ravens no. All right, so while you two were going back and forth on whatever you're going back and forth, Jerry went down a rabbit hole, and I started looking at some betting trends. And I noticed, so when I first started betting, when things started getting legal, the big thing was always +3 is going to win. And I rode that out for about 2 seasons, and it started to disappear last year a little bit, and now it's gone. This year, what I'm noticing is that spreads that are +2.5 have been teams that are going to win football games. I saw it week 1 with the Cowboys against the Browns. And then if you look at week 2, I have the spreads up in front of me. Let's see. Packers versus Colts. Packers won that game. Guess what the spread was? +2.5. These, same thing with Dolphins, Bills. Bills were +2.5. Guess who won that game? These lines, these numbers, they're starting to mean stuff. Same thing with the +6.5 is what I saw. The Falcons were +6.5 on Monday night. They won that game outright. These numbers are things that are really starting to tell me stuff. And you saying that you think the Chargers are going to beat the Steelers, I am fully behind you on that. So much, in fact, that while you guys were also doing your thing, I put in my ticket. And this is what I have. It's a hungry dog of the week. It's a big one. If I could figure out how to pull up my tickets, I don't know where here we go. My bets. My early slate ticket is Giants money line with the spread being +6.5, but I'm taking them to win outright. Philadelphia Eagles money line with the spread being +2.5 to the Eagles, taking the Eagles outright. Chargers money line. Chargers money line. Spread being +2.5, taking the Chargers outright. Now, I'm not saying this is an absolute lock, but looking at trends, looking at numbers, I think we're going to be okay with this one. We'll see what happens. If you do the math here, the Eagles just lost an absolutely heartbreaking game on Monday night in primetime against a team they should have had no business losing to. To come out against the Saints, who are a good team, the Eagles are going to be very eager to prove that, hey, we're still the Philadelphia Eagles. We're still going to kick your ass. So I think the Eagles are going to come out here this afternoon, and I don't want to say necessarily put a hurting on them, but everyone's all high and mighty on the Saints, and rightfully so. But you got to keep in mind, Derek Carr is still your quarterback. You still don't have that many weapons. Still, you have Alvin Kamara, and your Rashid Shaheed is causing havoc and doing whatever he's doing, but you're still the New Orleans Saints with a nobody head coach. And yeah, you're doing what you're doing, but you're riding on momentum. You got to be brought back to earth, and I think the Eagles are going to be the team to do it. The Browns are an absolute fucking dumpster fire, so I don't really give a shit what's going on with that. And I think the G-men are going to give them get their first win of the season here. Expect a big game from Malik Neighbors, hopefully. And then, there's nothing else to be said about the Chargers. I think Harbaugh is going to come in. I think he's going to have a good game. That's it. That's what I like. That's my 3 pick for the early slate. Later on in the day, though, I am all in. Again, numbers don't lie. I am all in on the Detroit Lions taking it to the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals are a good team, but if you look at the numbers here, the spread on that game is 1.5. Oh, I'm sorry, it's -3 towards the Lions, and -3 has been winning.
I don't like that.
You should like that because -3 has been winning throughout 2 weeks. So I am pretty high on the Lions here. I want to get my money back after last week, after we got screwed on the Sunny Days parlay. That one hurt me a little bit. I'm not going to lie, killed my soul, but we'll see what happens with that.
One thing
I like that, and then I like the Ravens. I think we said it before. The Ravens are going to come out. I think the Ravens are going to kick the shit out of the Cowboys. Shout out Will Hickey.
I think all of America wants to see that.
Really quick.
You were about to say something before.
No. With this, yeah, no. If I was a gambling man, I would gamble the over on Lad McConkey today. Just I think the Steelers are going to try to stop the run. I think that they'll probably play a little bit more base defense than a lot of than what we've been seeing. Just Tomlin's a great defensive mind, man. But when you put an extra linebacker on the field, you're softer in that slot. You're softer in the middle of the field. So if Justin Herbert wants to attack, the slot, that's where Lad McConkey's going to thrive. So I think Tomlin's going to say, let the rookie beat me. I'd rather have a guy to defend the run. And I think he'll probably get like 6-7 catches over the course of the game. Probably give you like 80, 90 yards. I'm sure the over under on him is probably 50, 60 at most. So we'll see. But that would be my bet. But what I wanted to talk about with you guys too, what we were speaking about on Friday, it's just too many flags. There's too many flags. It's unbelievable. You see a big play, you think you scored you think you scored some fantasy points. No, you didn't. It got called back. It's getting ridiculous.
And not to cut you off, but you know what's crazy? You know what's absolutely like mind-boggling is that this year in the offseason, a whole big to-do was going to be, we're flagging the hip drop tackle. And I see a lot of hip drop tackles. I haven't seen one flag.
You're so right.
I've been in my Detroit group chat. And me and my buddy Paul were arguing about the hip drop and the necessity of it and why it's a flag and this and that. And literally every time I see one, I'm like, another hip drop, another hip drop, another hip drop. The one time I saw them, but I think it was unnecessary roughness. I saw Jelani Tavai Thursday night tackle Breece Hall where he picked him up and slammed him, which I think was like, I knew it's one of those things like they're going to flag you on that, but to me it's bullshit. But that was unnecessary roughness. It wasn't a hip drop tackle. He picked him up and dropped him. Whatever. But yeah, I haven't seen it once. I think that idea that was strictly like lip service. I don't think the NFL genuinely means to get rid of the hip drop tackle, and it's all bullshit. To me, it's bullshit.
It's also super
I wouldn't be shocked if they take it off the books.
It's such an arbitrary call. Oh yeah,
it's a judgment call. I mean, this is my problem with the NFL is it is hard enough officiating NFL games with millions of people watching you and millions and billions of dollars on the line and all of this nonsense. And you're going to add another judgment call, which refs are already not good at calling. Right? Pass interference is a judgment call. Roughing the quarterback, roughing the kicker, roughing the punter. Those are judgment calls. And clearly, the refs are not good at that. And it's not reviewable. So why are you adding another thing for them to worry about in the middle of a game?
It's so easy to review these things, too. A roughing the passer, if the guy gets rid of the ball and you do 1, 2, hit him. It's a fucking foul.
Right.
I don't understand.
But you see today, you see them throwing the flag. You see them throwing the flag when the quarterback still has the ball. Like, that's absurd. That is his job. His job is to run that man over.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? The funny part about the roughing the passer too is like, if your team does it, it's bullshit. If they do it to your team, put them in jail.
We just got bailed out. Yeah.
It's such a judgment call. It should be reviewable. 1-2 foul. If not a foul. If you hit him in the shins, it's a foul. If you hit him in the knees and above, it's not a foul. It's so obvious to me. It's ridiculous.
I would love to see NFL, the NFL kind of do some of the stuff like the way the NHL officiates playoff hockey. And I'm not a big NHL guy at all, but the way that the NHL officiates playoff hockey is the way they should officiate their sport throughout the regular season, and they don't. And I wish the NFL would take a page out of that book. Let the fucking guys play. Keep the flags in your pocket. A flag, for any reason, should be something egregious. If we have to sit down and watch it in slow motion, frame by frame, for 8 minutes while everyone's standing on the field, it's probably not a flag. It's probably not a fucking flag. It's that. If you could not see it in regular time, in real time, it's not a flag. Let the guys play. I mean, old man screams at clouds. That's what I feel like at this point. But it's the truth, man. It's the fucking truth. I understand the quarterback is the asset. And I understand that that's what drives the market. That's what puts asses in seats. That's what puts all of us on the couch watching this game. I totally get it. But the way that we have wiped the quarterback's ass in the past 10 years is outrageous. And it just slow it down.
And what would you rather have? Would you rather have on a 3rd and 5 or a 2nd and 5 where you're the quarterback, let's say your team has the ball, and you throw the ball, and there was a roughing, there was what's it called? There was a
Illegal
defenseless
formation?
receiver, hit on a defenseless receiver. And it was a wishy-washy call, and now you have a first down, right? So now it's 1st and 10 instead of 3rd and 5. It's 1st and 10 going in. And then the makeup call comes out for holding. Now you got 1st and 20,
Right.
and you're essentially
Right.
kicking a field goal instead of
And they
having
do
3rd
that.
and 5 with the
They'll
opportunity to get a
never-
first down.
They'll never admit to doing that, but they do that every
No,
week.
it's obvious.
Where they-
And the makeup
Yeah.
calls are hurting. They
Yeah.
almost hurt the offense. Like you got the call, but now the makeup call screwed you more than the original call.
Exactly.
So I don't even think it's getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's too many flags. Let the guys play.
Right.
Sucks. Unless you're the Patriots. I've seen, I think, 2 Patriot games in our lifetime over the last 10 years where the Patriots were flagged 0 times
Well,
in the playoffs. How is
there-
that possible?
I think
Holding on every play.
I've brought this up. I've brought this up
Crazy.
once, and we'll move on to the other games. But I brought this up before. I wish I could find this chart. Someone on Twitter, literally documented every single penalty from 2010 to 2020, and it was a combination of basically whoever benefited most from penalties, and that's both offense and defense for each team. And what team do you think it was? There were 3 teams that by far and away benefited more than anybody else.
The Kansas
would
City
say-
Chiefs, the New
No,
England Patriots. No,
not even no. There were-
Patriots, Packers, Cowboys.
yes.
Am
yes.
I right?
And the Packers were by far and away above everyone else in the league. And then next
That's
one
great.
down was the Cowboys, and after that was the Patriots. And literally
That's
over a
funny.
10-year span, and ironically, what were the 3 bottom teams? I don't remember the third, but it was Detroit, the Jets, and somebody
Browns.
else. I don't think it was the Browns. I think it was like
Maybe the
might have been the
Jags.
Bengals, the Jags, something like that.
Well, look, great quarterback play will help you.
Yeah.
Not commit, as many penalties because you're in a better position to defend. The blocking. What the
Star
blocking
power.
should
Star
be.
power. Star power helps you
Star
do it.
power. But you see it right now, Aaron Rodgers. Everybody says obviously the line's better from last year, but Aaron Rodgers playing helps that line way more than Zach Wilson. Those guys
Yes.
were lost last year. They were holding because they were out of position. They didn't know where the freaking blitz was coming from. They didn't know where the stunts were, and they weren't the protection wasn't sliding the right way. And Aaron Rodgers helps that infinitely get those guys in better position, make better blocks. But no, the newest one is the Pat Mahomes turnovers. The Pat Mahomes throws a pick, they throw the flag.
16 of
do
them
it.
have been brought back.
It's egregious. And the Jets one was the worst with Sauce Gardner. They waited for the guy to intercept the ball, and then they were like, nope. It's like, what are you doing here? Enough.
Yeah.
So hopefully Pat Mahomes takes a beating this week. And hopefully the Chiefs aren't who they don't make to the playoffs. I'm sick of seeing that team, and I think the entire NFL is. Good for you. You won a few Super Bowls. Let's usher in the next group of fans so they can see some success. It's crazy.
Stop wiping their ass. Just make it competitive. Stop wiping their ass. We got a few more games here. Obviously, Lions at Cardinals. Over under there is 51.5. Lions are a -3 favorite. Cardinals at +135. Broncos at Bucks. That's a 1:00 game. Broncos. Bucks are -6. They're home. They're favorited. -6 is a good amount, but I think I'd feel comfortable taking that. And then the Giants at the Browns. -6.5. Giants are +250 money line.
Can I talk about this real fast?
Yeah,
real
over under
fast, real
38.5.
fast. I mentioned it before, and I want to go out on a limb here just because I fired off my picks to all my handicap groups that I always do. Just get the boys talking, get everything up, bounce ideas off each other. I am being called a madman for loving the Giants in this game. I'm being people are saying, listen, Dan, Jerry, I love you, but it's just. You don't know. I'm not. I'd rather. I can't say what they said. They made a very funny joke, but it's like I'd rather. Whatever. I'd rather do anything that you could think of that's bad than bet on the Giants. And hear me out here. Hear me out. The worst NFL teams, they need to get wins sometime, right? I mean, Pask, I'm sorry to say this, but we have seen it
16,
before.
I know.
Yeah. But it's bound to happen sometime. And if the Giants are going to beat anybody, it's going to be the dumpster fire that the Cleveland Browns are putting on the field week in and week out. David Njoku's hurt. Deshaun Watson hasn't. I don't think he's
hasn't gotten a massage in a long time.
Yeah, and it shows. Listen, the Giants are due here. The Giants are due. They're not as bad as everyone thinks they are. They stayed in that game against the Commanders, which I don't know what that's telling you. If the Commanders are really, really bad, but people are holding them up, or if the Giants have a little bit of life. The Giants have a really good defense, I think. I saw them play that first drive and said, wow, they have something there. And I know it's there, and I know they can unleash it when they need to. And I think they're going to come out today big dick swinging, ready to go. I think they walk away from this game with a win. And I don't know if I'm nuts about that, but it goes back to what I was talking about with the trends before. Looking at the numbers. We're doing money ball on this shit, baby. Call me fucking who did Brad Pitt pay? Billy Bean. Jerry Bean right here. We're going money ball on this shit. You look at the numbers. Plus 6.5. The Falcons beat the Eagles. Had no business beating the Eagles. They were plus 6.5. I'm going to pull these trends back up. Hold on one second. I closed it out because I was done.
They did have business.
I don't think they did. I don't think they did. On paper, dude, on paper, minus the recent play. Minus the recent play on paper, the Falcons had no business winning that game on Monday night. Not to mention what happened late in the game. That wasn't supposed to happen, and it happened. Keep laughing. Go ahead. Keep laughing. I get it.
All I can think of is
they were plus 6.5.
Jerry flicking his bean.
I was going fucking crazy, dude. I was going nuts. I was going crazy. It was a hell of a game. But no, ha ha. Jerry Bean, yeah, whatever. That's me. Listen, we're talking Moneyball, dude. Analytics. These nerds, they're onto something with the numbers. Look at last week, Saints Cowboys. What was the spread that the Saints had? The Saints had plus 6.5. They won that game
by a million, too.
You look at week 1 spreads. I'll pull those back up. Hold on one second. Let me find
I think I went 4-12 in my week 1 projections. 4 wins and 12 losses. I mean, you never know. I mean, the one thing I don't do is actually place bets. Yeah. It's fun to think about it, but oh my God, would I have lost so much money this year.
That's why I play small
already.
I play super small.
Yeah. It's funny, man.
When you're betting, you got to play what you're willing to lose. I throw, $5 here, myself to $10 there, or whatever, dude. That's a lot of money. I mean, I play $5. That's it. That's all I do.
Per week. Sunday, that
win or lose, right?
No. Like all of week 3, I could only play with $100. That's it.
That's still a lot of money. All of week 3, I would play with 5 if I wasn't. I've been in the knock on wood here. Knock on wood. I've been in the green since week 0 of college. So And again, when I'm not in the green, what I do is I would put $5 on Thursday Night Football because every Thursday they have the no sweat. You put in $5, you put in some ridiculous same game parlay, and then it hits. Great, you win a couple bucks. It loses, all right, no worries. You got to bet for Sunday. Then you concoct something on Sunday, you lose, and if you're feeling frisky, you throw another 5 in the pot. If not, you take your losses and you walk away. That's it. That's how I play. You got to be willing to put. You need to play what you're willing to lose, and that's it. Because gambling's a dangerous game here, and I can't say I'm happy with how things have worked out in the American public since sports gambling has been legalized at the forefront where it is legalized. I think it's everywhere. I think it's annoying. I'm sick of seeing the same 6 fucking commercials on TV every single day when I'm trying to watch a game. But, it can get dangerous. And, Facino, you've lived to tell a tale, and you could be a cautionary tale at that one where it's just you're chasing that dragon. It's like doing heroin. Not that I've ever done heroin. Don't quote that. But, it's just like doing heroin. You want to chase that dragon and get your game,
I was a gambler, and I retired the day they legalized gambling. And I'm proud of it. But it doesn't mean I can't root. I will say this week I'm rooting for obviously the Ravens. I root for the Ravens every week, Will. I do. I love the Lamar. I am a Lamar truther, and I just think he's amazing to watch. I also love Nick Chubb, and I really, really, really want to see the Browns have a little success over the next few weeks so that he does come back. I really want to see Nick Chubb come back. I think he's just one of the we're missing Nick Chubb right now.
See, I like Nick Chubb, but you know who I like a little more than Nick Chubb? I like Jerome Ford a lot. I think Jerome Ford is cut from the same cloth that Nick Chubb is cut from. And I think, honestly, if the two of them can get in tandem, I think Cleveland could end up with another running back tandem in their back pocket.
Chubb reminds me of how wrong I was about an NFL prospect. I watched Georgia win that first national championship the year I think it was the year him and Sony Michel were coming out of the draft.
Yes.
And I watched that game, and I was like, everyone's talking about Chubb, but I think that kid, Sony Michel, is going to be a fucking stud. He sees holes. He runs he runs the ball like a madman. Like I was just so infatuated with Sony Michel, and I looked at him as like, you're the sideshow, but when it comes to the NFL, you're going to be the show. And I was dead wrong.
Don't act like he didn't have a couple of solid seasons with the Patriots.
He's retired. He's not playing football anymore.
I'm saying, but when he was on the Patriots, though, Sony Michel had a couple of solid seasons with the Pats. So much so that I was in a big time fantasy football like matchup. I don't know if it was a playoff game or was to get in the playoffs or something like that. I picked him up off the waiver wire, and he had like 2 touchdowns that day and got me in. So Sony Michel for that moment will forever have my respect. Sure, he didn't pan out like you're saying, but still.
There's players that are great, and there's players that are elite. But I think the elite players are the players that can continue to play at 100% after taking as many hits as they do. Yeah. Nick Chubb he's Willis McGahee 2.0 with the way his body's able to be as resilient as it is. Where I think Sony Michel averaged I think he averaged 4.7 yards a carry or something, 4.6 yards a carry for the first 3 years with New England. And then it didn't work out after that. But, he played in the postseason, played an extra 4 games. And, when you do that 2 years in a row, 3 years in a row, all of a sudden your body breaks down a little bit differently. And, he's happily retired with that Super Bowl or that 2 Super Bowls. So, good career, honestly, but, yeah.
Lions at Cardinals. Before we sign off, if I know Jerry, you feel confident in my Lions.
Very.
Facino, where are you at?
Lions?
I'm not confident in this game. I to protect myself emotionally, I threw the Lions in a bet. I have 4 bets going today. I spread my money around. I took Arizona money line, and I used a profit boost on it.
Well, good news, Matt. It's in Arizona, which is good news. The Lions will have a home game today. The Cardinals can't stop the run, and they don't have really a pass rush. So I think Ben Johnson will be able to control the ball and dominate. I think their only issue is if the Cardinals can have a start like they had last week. But I mean, who's doing that? You don't do that, 2-3 weeks in a row. It'd probably be a high scoring game, but I think the Lions will be able to come out on top.
I need the sun god to pop off.
You keep saying that.
Yeah, because I want the sun god to play well. That's my guy.
I want him to play well too, but there's other guys on the offense. Sam Laporta.
No, I get that. But I just
sun
love
god
Amon-Ra.
had over 100 yards last week.
Yeah, but I don't think he's scored yet, right?
He has not scored. No.
Yeah.
No, I think only the running backs
This is the week.
scored.
This is the week.
Oh no, Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams had a touchdown week 1. So.
Yeah, okay. I got him. I got faith in you, man. So
Jerry's questing karaoke.
Not today.
Is that Will's wife?
Yes.
Okay. Remember from last year. Okay. Are we good?
We're good.
All right, boys.
Let's
great. Have Sunday.
Let's go Giants.
Let's go Giants. And we will be back Thursday night. So thank you all for tuning in.